Good evening, respected dignitaries, esteemed speaker, participants, and my dear colleagues. Good evening. I am Divyashree J.S., Assistant Professor of English, Sri Ayyappa College for Women. It is my pleasure to welcome you all to the fourth day of our FDP on Innovation Through Tradition, Embracing Indian Knowledge Systems for Viksit Bharat, jointly organized by IQAC and IIC of Sri Ayyappa College for Women and Shodh Pragalp, Shiksha Sanskriti Udhanyas, Tamil Nadu South. First of all, I call upon Dr. Gayatri Devi, Assistant Professor of Commerce, Sri Ayyappa College for Women, to deliver the welcome address and to introduce the esteemed speaker of the day, Shiksha Sanskriti Udhanyas, Tamil Nadu South. First of all,
Thank
I
you,
call upon
Divya.
Dr. Gayatri Devi, Assistant Professor of Commerce, Sri Ayyappa
Good
College
evening
for
to
Women,
everyone present
to deliver
here.
the welcome address
It gives
and to
me
introduce
immense
the
pleasure to welcome you all to
esteemed
the Day 5 session of the one-week virtual faculty development program on Innovation Through Tradition, Embracing Indian Knowledge Systems of Viksit Bharat, organized by IQAC and IIC of Sri Ayyappa College for Women in collaboration with Shodh Pragalp, Shiksha Samskriti Uttanyas, Tamil Nadu. At the outset, I extend my heartfelt welcome to our beloved principal, Dr. Via Anjana, whose steadfast support and visionary leadership continue to inspire academic innovation and excellence at our institution. It is with great honor that I extend a warm welcome to today's distinguished guest, Professor Mahesh Kulharia, Director of the Center for Computational Biology and Bioinformatics, Central University of Himachal Pradesh. We are truly privileged to have him with us today, and we look forward to a session enriched with deep insights and interdisciplinary learning. I also extend a warm and respectful welcome to IQAC Coordinator Dr. Smita Nair, FDP Coordinators Dr. Radha and Dr. Raki, members of the IQAC and the energetic team of IIC. Your thoughtful planning and tireless efforts have brought this vibrant academic program to life, one that bridges traditional wisdom and modern knowledge systems. A special welcome to all the faculty members and participants from across various institutions. Your enthusiastic participation adds tremendous value to this initiative and reflects a shared commitment to the enrichment of education. Now, allow me the honor of formally introducing today's speaker, Professor Mahesh Kulharia. Professor Kulharia is a distinguished academician and researcher in the field of structural bioinformatics, currently serving as the director of the Center for Computational Biology and Bioinformatics at Central University of Himachal Pradesh. He holds a PhD and has extensive postdoctoral research experience with core expertise in protein ligand interactions, graph theory applications in molecular biology, molecular recognition, and algorithm development for computational biology. He has led major research projects funded by the UGC and DBT and is currently guiding multiple PhD scholars in advanced interdisciplinary research. His scientific work has been widely published in reputed national and international journals, and his Google Scholar profile reflects a robust citation record that stands as testimony to his impactful research contributions. Professor Kulhari has also delivered invited lectures at premier institutions and conferences across India and abroad, including Germany and Netherlands. His academic excellence has been recognized through prestigious awards such as the International Max Planck Research School Scholarship, the Sundarlingam Award, and both gold and silver medals from Kurukshetra University. Sir, we are truly honored to have you with us today. We look forward to an intellectually enriching session and are grateful for your presence and contribution. Once again, a warm welcome to Professor Mahesh Kulharia.
Thank you, Gayatri ma'am. And you have been too kind to introduce me. I mean, of course, I don't deserve all these laurels. These have been accrued to me by virtue of my luck, perhaps. So, and had I known about my great introduction that you were going to give me, introduce me as, I would have hurried through the traffic. So, thank you for the great introduction. I don't deserve it, but well, I'll try to, speak on the topic that has been assigned to me. So please indulge me because I am still a student. I am a novice. I am zero, and I would try to learn something from this talk myself. So, if with your permission, can I start sharing my screen?
Yes, sir. You can share the screen.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, so whenever a civilization has prospered, whenever a civilization has actually taken place, it has all been due to the foundations of the understanding of basic units. For instance, even in this case, when we are talking to each other, we understand the basic principles of transactions. And these transactional units, these units are critical to any civilization. When we talk about Bharatiya Gyan Parampara or the ancient Indian knowledge systems, quite often people are skeptical to understand, to actually accept that these ancient civilization was extremely advanced. Now, in today's lecture, in today's talk, I'm going to be talking about certain very important fundamental aspects of any civilization, which is the ability to talk about things in a very precise and correct manner. So before I begin my talk, let us look at the universe that we live in. This entire an egg-like ovoid shape is what our universe is. This is what science tells us. Modern science, mind you. And this is exactly what the ancient name Brahmand means. In this huge universe, there's such a huge space dimensional that to travel from one end to the other end, it would take us 27.6 billion years. So the distance is 27.6 billion light years. And that is because 13.8 billion years ago, there was Big Bang. And this space is so huge that there are 2 into 10 to the power 12 galaxies occupying this universe. And each galaxy has so many stars that a total of 2 into 10 to the power 22 stars approximately. Of course, nobody has counted it, and I wish I could, but this is only an approximate guess. There are so many stars in this universe. And the galaxies are so huge. Out of so many galaxies, 2 into 10 to the power 12 galaxies, there is a very small galaxy in a very small corner of this universe, which is our great Akashganga, or as the Britishers say, Milky Way. And this galaxy itself is huge. I mean, of course, it is very small, tiny in terms of universe, but when we compare it to maybe our sun, this is an extremely huge galaxy, which has huge stars. And a very small, tiny bit, a very small speck of dust, like a small star somewhere on the outside of this galaxy, is what our sun is. Now imagine that, a huge universe of 27.6 billion light years width, and among these 2 into 10 to the power 12 galaxies, a very small galaxy lying in the farther corner of this universe. That too, a very small, tiny star in that galaxy, which is our sun, so rare. But of course, that sun is huge in comparison to our Earth. Now, if you can look at this point, this orange circle is our sun, and the small dot here is Earth. On this Earth, of course, India is a very small speck of land, small piece of land. But as compared to you and me, the small piece of land is still huge. Now, in this country that we live in, Tamil Nadu is a substantially bigger state. Himachal Pradesh is a very small part. But the city that you live in is almost like a one small dot in the screen. And in that small dot, somewhere you are setting maybe another small dot of a dot of a dot. Now compare yourself to the size of universe. Compare yourself to the size of your city. Compare your size with that of India, with that of Earth, and what are we in comparison to Sun? And what is Sun in comparison to galaxy? And what is our small tiny galaxy in comparison to the universe? So actually, if we compare these things, we will understand that our existence carries no meaning in this universe. This universe is so mind-bogglingly huge that you and me, we are less than the speck of dust floating in the air somewhere in our room. Very, very small. But yet, what is big, what is huge, and what is extremely large in our lives is our pride. And perhaps our ancestors realized this, and then that is why they coined this term Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya. What is tamas here? Tamas, if I understand correctly, I have never been a student of Sanskrit, which is very unfortunate. I wish I had studied my Sanskrit lessons more carefully. But what is tamas here? It is pride. Because as far as dimensions are concerned, we are simply too insignificant in this universe to make a difference. And as far as timing is concerned, our life at a maximum best is 100 years. Whereas the universe has been there for 13.8 billion years. And if we consider that the entire human race has been there for last 200,000 years, as far as the science and fossil paleontology and whatever the fossils speak, the 200,000 years is less than a drop in ocean as compared to 13.8 billion years the universe has been in existence with. So we do not have age. We have not been living in this world for long. We are simply too insignificant to make a difference in terms of size. So we have neither space nor time on our side. Yet, there is one dimension, perhaps because of ignorance, that is what we have in abundance, and that is called pride. And that pride is our greatest enemy. These are two still photographs I have taken from Chanakya television serial, where a guru is asking the disciple what is the greatest enemy of a person, and that is pride. And what is the knowledge of the poor? What is the wealth of the poor? It is knowledge. That is why perhaps the foundational statement for our civilization has been Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya. Tamas means ignorance, oblivion, foolhardiness. To Jyotirgamaya means realization, consciousness, understanding, appreciation of the finer workings of the universe. And there is another statement in Vishnu Puran which says Vidya sa vimuktaye. That is, Vidya is something that makes you free from ignorance, free from bondage, free from fear. So that these are the foundations on which Indian knowledge system rests. And if we have to go further, and I'll stop the philosophy now because I'm not a good philosopher. In fact, my students get bored very easily. So I'll not be speaking on philosophy any further, but I'll try to underline the importance of these concepts, the urge in our ancestors to move away from ignorance, to actually delve into, to go deeper into the understandings of this universe in such a minute detail that, well, I still find it amazing. So before we understand the knowledge, let us also look at the ignorance. Well, let me put a disclaimer here. I have love and affection for all sort of sects, religions on this earth. But then we are scientists. We are supposed to be rationalists. We are supposed to look at the evidence and then we are supposed to rigorously evaluate it. Of course, there might be major contradictions, but what we need to see, we need to identify a pattern. And here is a pattern where Newton, although he was a great, so-called a great scholar, he assumed he wanted to say he was a proponent of the fact that Earth was created in 4000 BC. That is a kind of strange thing for such a smart man to say, if he was indeed smart. Similarly, Lord Kelvin, on whose name we have temperature scale, also estimated the Earth to be 20 to 40 million years only old, based on cooling rates of a molten body. But this is where the problem lies. You see, even smart brains of modern science of yesterday have not been able to grapple with the concept of enormity of the time scales. Now, on one hand, we have such illustrated minds, such great minds who are making a mistake in understanding the time scales. And on the other hand, we have some indications from our own ancestors about time scales in Veda. And as far as the time is concerned, we always begin our stories with once upon a time. And let's understand this time. In Bhagavad Gita, chapter 8, shlok 17, I wish I was able to read this shlok, Sahasrayug Paryanta Maha, and so on. I cannot read it properly because unfortunately I am ignorant of Sanskrit and I am not a student of Sanskrit. I wish I was. But fortunately, the smart people amongst you have actually translated it somewhere in Hindi. And I'll translate that Hindi text in English, and it says there are 1000 cycles of 4 yugs, which is equal to, so 1000 cycles of 4 yug is equal to Brahma's 1 day of 12 hours. And then there is 12 hour, not our 12 hour, Brahma's 12 hour. Now, understand this concept very clearly. This is great. So, imagine there is Brahma. So, Brahma wakes up in the morning. Let's assume that. Then till evening, there are 12 hours of Brahma's day. During this,
Excuse me, sir. Sorry to interrupt you. Your voice is echoing. So, if you can use some device like.
Is it echoing now?
No, sir.
Is the voice clear?
Yes, yes. Thank you, sir.
I am extremely sorry for that, and I will be very careful in future. So, should I continue, or maybe should I begin?
Yes, sir, please. Yeah, it's clear now.
So let us understand this. When the Brahma, for example, let's assume that Brahma wakes up in the morning and he works till the evening. During this 12 hour of Brahma's daytime, on Earth we have 1000 cycles of 4 yugs. 4 yug means Kal Yug, Dwapar Yug, a Treta, and a Sat Yug. Of course, in the reverse order: a Sat Yug, Treta, a Dwapar, and a Kal Yug. 1000 cycles of such 4 yugs. Now we understand, of course, that these yugs are supposed to be extremely long in terms of years. So 1 day of Brahma is equal to billions of years of Earth life. What is this concept? This concept is called as time dilation. And this concept of time dilation has come very recently, maybe 100 years back, in after, of course, Einstein's theory of relativity. What was this concept of time dilation doing in Bhagavad Gita, which has been given thousands of years back? So what was the idea? And let me also tell you that there is a story about some king. I don't remember which king because I'm very pathetic in names. I'm getting old. There was this king who had built Jagannath Puri's temple. And then he wanted to find a suitable groom for his daughter. And he had gone to Brahmaji. He had to wait till Brahmaji opened his eyes. Brahmaji opened his eyes sometime later, maybe few hours. And then he mentioned somebody as groom. When the king mentioned that he'll return back to earth, Brahmaji said, well, for the time being that you were there in the Brahmlok in front of me, many thousands of generations have already passed on Earth. So when you will return back, you will no longer recognize the Earth. So the concept of time dilation was also given in that story. Now let me ask you something. We understand this time dilation is to be very important concept in modern day science. But this concept was given thousands and thousands of years back in our ancient Indian wisdom, ancient Indian knowledge system. What and how were our ancestors able to decipher such a great concept? In fact, if we look at the time dimension itself and how it has been described in our ancient systems, ancient texts, it says there are three different or maybe many different time scales. Not three, many different time scales. I have mentioned only three here, but there are many different time scales. One is for Brahma, for example. One is for us humans. Then there is somewhere a Devalok. So for Deva also, the time scale is different. I'll not get into the nitty-gritty of these times. It is sufficient to say that in one day, 12 hours of Brahma, it is equal to 8.6 billion human years. Notice that number 8.6 billion human years, because this is where we are going to come back again. Now, according to our traditions, it is supposed to be the midday for Brahma now, which means around 4 and 4.3 billion years have actually passed by. So understand this. Our texts say that in today's world that we live in, it is Brahmaji's dopahar or afternoon, which means half of the day has already gone by. We understand one day to be equal to 8.6 billion years, and half day has gone by, so 4.3 billion years have actually gone by. Now let's come back to the modern science. The science assumes that the age of Earth is 4.3 billion years old. Now this is remarkable. Our ancestors knew that the age of Earth is 4.3 billion years. And this is very close to the modern science's number, 4.5 billion years of Earth age. I am surprised. I am shocked. But then the shock doesn't end here. There is another text, and of course, again, I cannot read this properly. But this tells us more about the time and its organization. It tells us that there are 71 times 4 yug that comes in a cycle. So there is a Manu who's created. Manu looks after these 71 cycles of 4 yugs. And there are 14 Manus which are created in one Brahma's day. So if you multiply 14 by 71, what do you get? 984 or something like that, which is very close to 1000. Exactly what was mentioned in Bhagavad Gita. So there is 1004 Chaturyug or 71 Chaturyugs, and 14 times these occur, so 984. Now this is interesting that the time scales given in various ancestral Indian texts or Bharatiya texts mention the time scale beautifully similar and also accurate. So the coarser detail of timing is, now before I get into this, I mean, all of you have been living for last 30 years, 40 years maybe. Yes. And you have been using the time units of what, centuries maximum? I mean, millennia, 1000 years. Have any one of you ever imagined what would be Earth after, let's say, billion years? Very rarely we do that. Why do we not do that? We do not do that because there is no need. The life that we live, the world that we physically occupy, does not require imagination of such a huge astronomical time scale. It does not. So what was the need for the ancestors to imagine the time scale on such billions and billions of light years away, billions and billions of years away? And let me explain this. So 1 mantar is 71 Chaturyug. 14 Manvantar is 994 Chaturyugs, which is approximately equal to 1000 Chaturyug, which is what equal to 1 Brahma day. And we understand that 1 Brahma day on Earth in terms of human years, it's 4.32 billion years. Now we also understand that 1 Brahma day is equal to 1 Brahma night. So 4.32 billion years plus 4.32 billion years is 8.64 billion years. That is what the life of Earth is. Total. And we understand that half of it has passed by as far as the Brahma's afternoon is concerned. So 4.32 billion years have gone by of Earth age. This is exactly similar to what scientists say, as I mentioned earlier. But now more interestingly, we also understand that at some point of time in future, sun will soon lose all hydrogen, which will be converted into helium, and then it will expand like a red giant star. The red giant star is going to engulf Earth, of course, and then the life on Earth or the Earth itself will be destroyed. When will this happen? And very interestingly, science says after 4.5 billion years, which means almost exactly what our ancestors have been saying. But look at the time scale now. So 360 Ahoratri. Ahoratri means 1 Brahma day plus 1 Brahma night, which is equal to 8.64 billion years. 360 such Ahoratris make 1 Brahma's year. And 100 such Brahma's year will be equal to what? 36,000 Ahoratri. But look at the time scale. 309 trillion years. 309 trillion years. I mean, even if we don't look at years, 309 trillion is such a vast amount that it is difficult to even conceptualize such a number, imagining that our ancestors were living in forests and so on. But they did conceptualize, they did visualize such a big number. Why? Well, the reason is because they were perhaps familiar with the concept of time dilation. They were also perhaps familiar with the pulsating nature of this universe. It is also nowadays a theory which is gaining ground, that universe has suffered from originated from a big bang, but then at some point of time in future there will be a big collapse. The entire universe will again collapse into a singularity of a single point, maybe maybe first dimensions, and then from that singularity again another big bang and another universe will take shape, and this will keep on happening. So pulsating universe. And this is exactly what our ancestors say. The universe will last for a few trillion years and then it will go away. So let me go further. Imagining bigger units is always easier because natural numbers always increase from 1 to infinity. But going into smaller and finer detail is something that requires even more imagination. All of you must be having watches on your hand or mobile phones with stopwatches or alarm clocks. Has any one of you ever used a clock with nanoseconds time scale? If yes, please put your name in the comment box, because I'll be very happy to see somebody who's using nanosecond scale. And now if we look at the finer time scale units that have been used by our ancestors, you would see that the smallest unit that they were using was 308.6 nanoseconds, which they used to call as truti. And 60 trutis used to make renu. 60 renus used to make one love. 60 love. Now, this is also interesting. You see that system of 60, 60, 60, 60 and 60? Even today, even after having the so-called scientific advancements of space age, the Western civilization has not been able to identify a system capable of replacing the time system of ancient Indians. They still have 60 minutes in 1 hour, 60 seconds in 1 minute, and so on. And this 60, 60, 60 relation has actually come from Indian system. Now you can look at that. But more importantly, let us ask ourselves a question: what were our ancestors doing with a nanoscale time unit called Truti? Nanoscale time unit is so small that it actually is less than, much less than the time we take to blink our eyes. So there must be something going on there. We never create a smaller unit unless we actually have a use of it. So the ancestors must be having a use of this Truti. On the right side, if you look at this, is the time scale, the diversity of time scale. On the top of it is cycle of Brahma, which is 10 to the power 22 years. And now look at Truti, it's like 10 to the power minus 7, because 306 nanosecond is what? Nanosecond is 10 to the power minus 9, so 308 will be equal to 10 to the power 7, minus 7, 10 to the power minus 7 seconds, sorry. So the time scale ranges from 10 to the power minus 7 to 10 to the power 22. This is an order of 10 to the power 29. Now compare this with the Roman civilization that was there, that was our contemporary in the Roman area. I'm sure all of you understand, and you know that, where is it? Maybe not here. Yeah. That the biggest number Romans could write was not more than what, 50 lakhs or 10 lakhs. In fact, their Roman numeral system, it was not the extended one that is used today, but the ancient Roman system, it was very difficult to cross the number of 50 lakhs. Now, I'm amazed to see that our ancient ancestors had such a vast time scale from 10 to the power minus 7 to 10 to the power 22, whereas the contemporary and living in the same time people somewhere in Europe had a time scale of have had a highest number of what, 50,000, 50 lakhs. This is surprising, stark difference. But why do you need such time, such detailed time? Let me tell you why do we need it. We need it to understand relativity. We need it to understand quantum mechanics. And we also need it to understand the matter as a function of energy. It's somewhat something has happened. Matter as a function of energy has gone away. Why do I say matter as a function of energy or matter as a manifestation of energy is, I'm sure you must have heard that shlok, Om Purnamida, Purnamada, Purnamidam, Purnat, Purnamudachyate, and so on. In that shlok, if you look at this, if you take Purna from the Purn, it still remains Purn. Something like that. If you take complete from complete, it is still complete. Which means if you take infinity out of infinity, you are still left with infinity. Matter and energy, both are manifestation of each other. And why do I say this? I say this because there is another reference to it. Om Jai Shiv Omkara. If you have heard this Arti, Brahma Vishnu Sadashiv Janat Aviveka. Now, listen to the next line very carefully. Pranavakshar ke madhye ye tino eka. So matter, energy, matter is Brahma, energy is perhaps Vishnu, and Shiv, I don't understand. Maybe there is a third element, we don't, third kind of fundamental element we don't understand. Matter, energy, and there is a third form. All these three forms are interchangeable. Ye tino eka. Why do I say this? Because you see, scientists were trying to find out the smallest unit of matter. What actually creates matter? So they were trying to bombard particles onto each other at higher velocity to see the fragments that will emerge out of it. And with these study of these smaller fragments, they'll understand the fundamental particle of the universe. And suddenly they realized that there comes a size, there comes a time when they start bombarding these smaller particles at very high energy onto each other. These particles come and collide with each other. Rather than destroying, getting decayed into smaller components, more such particles emerge. From where are these newer particles emerging? They are emerging from the energy of these particles which have been made to collide with each other. So the matter is converted to energy, the energy is converted to matter, and our ancient texts say that, of course, not very as clearly as this modern science says, but very clearly it says that. Now let me ask you the question. The modern science has, of course, mentioned this in last 100 years. How and why our ancestors gave this concept thousands and thousands of years ago, maybe lakhs and lakhs of years ago? Why were they using a time scale unit of nanosecond? Why were they using a time scale unit of astronomically huge proportion of 10 to the power 22? It is because their information, their knowledge, their wisdom was also very advanced, was also very profound. But let me also tell you that the story is not only in numbers, it is also in usage. Why do I say this? Because we have only mentioned time, but when we were there in 11th class, the first chapter of physics was the units of measurement. And what were the three fundamental units of measurement that we studied? It was mass, length, and time. Now that we have understood that our ancestors had very detailed time information, now let us also look at the length part. Of course, I can go on, but I will ask you to focus on this 8 Parmanu unit. So the ancient text says 8 Parmanu was equal to 1 Rajkan. What is Rajkan? Raj means sand, Kan particle. Rajkan means a dust particle coming from wheel of a chariot. So a very small speck of dust. But the Parmanu unit is smaller than this Rajkan. So much so that in one Rajkan there are 8 Parmanu units. That's very interesting. And how much is the size of a Rajkan? 8 Rajkan will equal to an egg of lice. I'm sure all of you understand what lice is. It's a small parasitic insect that generally infests our heads, hair roots, and it's a sangivorous. That means it takes out blood from our head and drinks merrily. When we were small, at least not your age, of course, all of you are young. I'm old. When I was in my school days, quite often we used to suffer from lice problem in our heads, and I used to get beatings from my mother because of this lice problem. But the egg of a lice is so small that it was almost next to impossible to find it and remove it from head. Now I understand that in the size of one egg of a lice, there were 8 Rajkan, and in one Rajkan there were 8 Parmanus. So in one egg of lice there were 64 Parmanus. That's a very minute detail. It's less than egg of lice is less than millimeter, maybe 0.1 millimeter or so, 0.2 millimeter or so. Now you divide 0.2 millimeter by 64. Let's make it 100 thing. So it's like what, a micrometer? So the ancestors were working somewhere in the micrometer range of their length. That was the lowest. And what was the highest? This thing. What was the highest unit of our distance? That was called yojan. And this is where we all understand, we all know, it is very famous that Yug Sahasra Yojan Par Bhanu. This was written by Tulsidas ji. Tulsidas ji was not a scientist, and he was a contemporary of Akbar. Akbar was there in the year 1556 onwards. In 1556, we did not have a Galileo or a Newton in the Western civilization. The telescope was not even created, 1556. Sun revolves around Earth was the popular concept of physics in Western civilization. And India, Tulsidas ji was writing Yug Sahasra Jojan Par Bhanu, which actually translates into 15 crore kilometers. Now you can imagine this, when the ancient civilization of Indians knew about the distance between sun and earth, the Western world was merely repeating the concept that earth moves, as earth is stationary and sun moves around earth. So there must be a system of investigation, there must be a system of measurement, there must be a system of experimentation which had given all these distance data to the ancients. There are so many interesting factors about this, the distance between earth and moon and the dimension of moon, the distance between earth and sun and the diameter of earth. If you take this ratio, it turns out to be 108, and 108 is a very auspicious number in ancient civilization. But that's not only true. So we have looked at length, we have looked at the length and time. Now let's look at the weight. Even today, when you go to some jeweler to get maybe a ring made, what is the language that we talk into? We talk in terms of tola. And this is very interesting because one tola, which is equal to 10 grams now, this tola is a very ancient unit of measurement. What were the other units of measurement in the ancient system? Let's look at that. 4 grain of rice used to be equal to 1 dhan. 4 dhan used to be equal to 1 ratti. 8 ratti used to be equal to 1 masha. 3 masha was equal to 1 tak, and 4 tak used to be equal to 1 bhari. In the Bangladeshi currency, it is still taka. I hope you remember that. The taka comes from this tak only. And then 1 bhari was equal to 4 sikki, and so on. So even today in our northern India, I don't know about the southern India, but in northern India, if I have to buy wheat, and if I go to a shopkeeper and if I ask about the price of the wheat, he will always quote the price of wheat in terms of man. What is man or mound? Man means a unit of 40 kgs. It is still there. The time onslaught of Western civilization has not been able to remove all these symbols of our civilizational advancements. They are still there. And that brings me to our greatest achievement, which was our counting system. I'm sure you must have heard about trillion, right? Maybe our Indian economy is now in 4 trillion. We want to be somewhere around 100 trillion. Why and why did our ancestors require numbers such as 100 million trillion? So zero, it starts with 0, which is also called as pujya or shunya. When ek, dasa, shata, sahastra, ayut, laksha, koti, adbhut, padma, kharav, nikharv, brund, mahapadma, which is 10 trillion, mahapadma, shankh, 100 trillions, mahashankh, 1000 trillions, samudra, mahasamudra, madhya, and parardha. Parardha is 100 million trillion. We do not have so many stars. In fact, Parardha is equal to the number of stars in the entire universe. And in the ancient system, the largest number was 1 lakh, which was C with an overline. Sorry, not 50 lakhs, only 1 lakh. Now compare these two civilizations. One is ancient Indians, the other ones are like maybe Romans. Romans could not count above 1 lakh, and 1 lakh was maybe a starting warming up unit for us. And you know what? Do not take my word for it, because I am like you, an Indian.
Excuse me, sir.
People might consider me as a biased, We have more charm for Westerners to say that we are great. So I have taken out quotes from Western scientists to prove that our ancestors' knowledge was so great, so vast. Let me quote some. There was this person called Arthur Schopenhauer. He said, there is, in the whole world, there is no study so great as that of Upanishads. Einstein also said that we owe a lot to Indians who taught us how to count. If you don't know how to count, you cannot have any scientific advancement. In fact, Robert Oppenheimer, the father of atom bomb, which is what he is called for, also mentioned clearly access to Vedas is the greatest privilege of the century. In fact, Carl Sagan, a famous astronomer and scientist, has mentioned very clearly that Hinduism is the only religion in the world whose time scales, remember, time scales for the age of universe matches precisely those with the modern cosmology. Whatever I've been saying has also been said by Carl Sagan before me. Similarly, there are many other people who have mentioned that Hindus are excellent astronomers, grammarians, and metaphysicians, and so on. Mark Twain has mentioned India as a cradle of human race. But having said that, we have been able to, somehow get disconnected. We were disconnected from our ancient civilization. You know why? It happened in three different steps. First, reduce our affinity to Sanskrit or Tamil or Telugu, the ancient Indian languages. That was the first step. Second, remove the vernacular language texts from the public access. How many of you have Vedas or Purana in your homes? How many of you have Tiruvallur's poetry collection in your homes? We all have heard of it, but how many of us actually have them? Plus, what is the percentage of us who actually read it every day, who understand it every day? And therefore, we have been disconnected from our ancestral knowledge. And lastly, our schooling system has taken away the connect we had with our ancestors. For instance, we don't study Sanskrit after 8th class. We start studying in 5th, and then we stop at 8th. So there is no connect. We focus our education on what? On mathematics, physics, social sciences, Hindi, English, and other such texts. But we conveniently forget. And even for those 4 years that we study Sanskrit in, we study only philosophy. We don't study Vedic mathematics. Of course, it is coming nowadays, but we don't study it in our schools. It's very, very recently that efforts have been made to study this. So with that, I will stop my talk. And I would be very happy if you have any questions. But let me also mention this at the onset. I am also a student and I am ignorant of most of the things. I'll try to answer your questions as far as possible. But if I am not able to, please forgive me. So now I hand the baton back over to Gayatri ma'am. And I request questions. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for sharing such valuable insights. So, if any participant has any question, please.
Thank you, Dr. Barwa. I did my master's from Madurai. So I can speak Tamil kunjum kunjum. And I used to visit, thank you, Dr. Katoch. I used to visit Meenakshi Amma temple. And if you look at the way these buildings have been constructed, they have used beautiful geometric patterns. So it is for anybody who has eyes to see that the ancient civilization was extremely great in terms of architecture, science, physics, astronomy, navigation, and so on. In fact, should also mention this. How many of you have actually visited the temple of Lipakshi? Lipakshi. So please visit if you are there. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for yeah. Thank you, Dr. Anish. Thank you, Daniel ji.
Thank you, sir, for those wonderful words on Bharatiya Jnana Parampara. So, since no participant has questions or any doubt,
Ma'am,
we
there are only two situations when we do not have questions. Either people have understood everything or they have not understood anything at all.
yes, sir.
So either it is 0 or 100. I hope it's 0, because then people can chart their own course. They can learn on their own.
I think, sir, it's my personal opinion. I felt that I was new to the facts that you have uh, presented today. Many of those information, those pieces of information, were new to me. So actually, it was like I was sitting in a class. Uh, Thank you, sir.
Well, I am also a student, so I also enjoy my time in class. Uh, Teaching is for fun.
Yes, sir. So as we draw the curtains on this session, I call upon Dr. YC Viji, Assistant Professor of
There's a
Zoology.
question, ma'am. Somebody, Debarati Das, has raised a hand. There's a question there.
Okay, okay. So please.
Good evening to all. Actually, sir, you're very inspiring as well as highly modest in your attitude. And you being such a honorable person, I feel like that small, very minute entity in front of you. But actually, it's not a question, rather, it's a request to my new friends and the dignitaries that are present here. So if you may permit me a minute, all of you.
Yeah, please.
Okay, sir, please don't mind. It's just that I am also interested in nature since I'm a botanist. And today is the World Environment Day, as you are all aware of it. And we are fighting plastic. All of us are fighting plastic pollution all over the world. And being a coordinator of Nature Club in my college, I'm doing a survey. It's a national based survey. So, if all my new friends, please pardon this audacity of calling you all friends, but I personally take you as friends. If you all can participate in a small survey that I will provide to you with the due permission of the coordinators of this program, I shall be very grateful to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Now, Dr. Priya has also raised her hand.
Good evening to all of you. Thank you, sir, for a very nice presentation. The numbers that you have described from minute level to such a huge numbers, and you have also raised a question why our ancestors need such minute readings and such huge numbers. Can you give an insight of what will be the application in those in that era with these numbers, sir?
I wish I had a machine to time travel. But uh, as far as my, again, I'm still a student. I've been learning. I believe, again, it cannot be a belief. Science, we don't believe things. We prove things. And I'm still trying to find out the correct references to answer your question of what sort of applications our ancestors had. Only at this point of time, I can only guess what sort of applications they had. One is time travel, one is space travel. You know, we in today's world, we understand that if you have two clocks, you keep one clock on Earth, you send the other clock on a very high velocity ship away from Earth. Maybe at some point of time in future, if they both come together, we'll find that there'll be a time difference in both of these clocks. This is very
Sir,
interesting.
thank you, sir. Sir, I have also learned that our ancestors are very expert in using nanotechnology,
Yes, indeed.
especially in
Medicine.
the medicine as well as
Yes.
making ornaments.
Yes,
Uh,
medicines and ornaments. Yes.
mm,
In
so,
fact, even in Ayurveda and Siddha, they still use the bhasma, Swarna
yeah,
bhasma and Abrat bhasma.
yeah, yeah.
Yes, these are nothing but nano. Okay, there's somebody else also. Okay,
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
okay.
Thank you, Dr. Priya. So now we conclude the session. I would like to invite Dr. YCBG, Assistant Professor of Zoology, to propose the vote of thanks.
Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Perfectly, ma'am.
Good evening to one and all present here. It gives me immense pleasure and honor to deliver the vote of thanks on behalf of the organizing committee for this enriching faculty development program on innovation through tradition, embracing Indian knowledge systems for Viksit Bharat. First and foremost, I would like to express our deepest gratitude to today's resource person, Professor Mahesh Kulharia, Director, CCBB, School of Life Sciences, Central University of Himachal Pradesh, who had generously shared his expertise and insights in Indian knowledge systems with us. This session was truly informative and thought provoking and will certainly guide us, sir. Thank you, sir. Next, I extend my sincere gratitude to our respected principal, Dr. V.R. Anjana, for her unwavering support and encouragement. Your leadership and motivation played a crucial role in making this FDP a grand success. I also extend my sincere appreciation to the organizing committee, Dr. Smita Nair, Coordinator IQAC and IIC, Dr. Radha, Coordinator and Startup, and Dr. Ragi, Coordinator Innovation Activity. Thanks to each one of you for your tireless efforts in planning and executing every detail of this program with efficiency and professionalism. Finally, I thank all the participants who joined us from our institution and other institutions. Your active participation, enthusiasm, and engagement added immense value for the success of this FDP program. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, all the participants. The attendance form is posted in the chat box. Please fill it in. So let's conclude the session until we meet